All right, so today we're going to talk about something that sounds pretty simple on the surface. A personal experiment to go 24 hours without a mobile phone. Sounds easy, right? But as you'll see, this little journey ended up revealing something kind of profound and maybe even a little unsettling about our relationship with these devices we carry everywhere.
So let me just start by asking you a question, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. When was the last time you spent 1 full hour, just 60 minutes, without your phone even being near you? It's a simple question, but if we're all being honest, it's a challenge that most of us would probably fail. So the rules for this experiment were super simple, but also kind of terrifying. For 24 hours straight, the phone was switched off. Not on silent, not on airplane mode, but completely off and hidden away. That meant no calls, no scrolling through social media, no, let me just quickly check that. Total, complete radio silence. So you might be asking, why on earth would anyone do this to themselves? Well, the whole thing started from one of those, really uncomfortable moments of self-realization about the role this little glowing rectangle plays in our lives, from the very first second of the day to the very last. This right here, this was the light bulb moment. The realization that my day was literally bookended by a screen. Not a person, not a quiet thought, not a book, a screen. It's such a simple observation, but when you really let it sink in, it's incredibly powerful. And that was the smart.
Okay, so the experiment begins. And let me tell you, the first few hours were an absolute trip. They immediately exposed this deeply ingrained, almost automatic psychological struggle that I didn't even know was there. Waking up that first morning was a jolt. My hand, just out of pure muscle memory, reached for the phone on the nightstand like it does every single day. And then, bam, the realization hits. Oh, right, I can't do that. It created this really weird, empty, and genuinely uncomfortable feeling. The whole morning routine was just totally broken.
What was so surprising was how fast the anxiety kicked in. And this wasn't just your standard FOMO, the fear of missing out on a meme or a party invite. No, this felt deeper. It was a real fear. What if someone needs to reach me? What if I miss something actually important? It just revealed how much our phones have become our psychological safety net.
And the day wasn't just one long, flat line of difficulty. It was more like an emotional roller coaster. The morning was all about that physical, habitual struggle. Midday, that's when the heavy weight of pure boredom set in. And the evening was peppered with these intense moments of temptation where I just wanted to give in. And all of this led to the scariest realization of the whole day. That constant nagging impulse to check the phone, that phantom vibration you think you feel in your pocket. It became so clear. This wasn't just about breaking a bad habit. It felt like I was fighting an addiction, one that's been carefully engineered, with every little notification and dopamine hit. But you know what? Just as that uncomfortable truth was really sinking in, something pretty amazing happened. The whole story started to pivot. What began as a battle with boredom and anxiety slowly started to transform into something surprisingly positive. At first, the boredom felt like a heavy blanket. Time seemed to slow down to a crawl. But in that stillness, something else started to emerge. Awareness. I started actually noticing little details. The sounds of my street, the way the light hit the walls, the faces of people I walked past. All these little things started to fill the void the phone had left behind. And the contrast between a normal day and this phone-free day was just stark. A normal day is a blur of rushing around, comparing yourself to others online, half listening in conversations. But this day, it was about being present. It was peaceful. I had actual conversations where I was 100% focused. It was a completely different way of being. By the end of the day, the change was something I could physically feel. That constant buzz of notifications in the back of my mind, the low-grade pressure to always be available and responding, it was just gone. And in its place, my mind felt lighter. There was just less noise, less pressure. It was calm.
So, what's the big lesson from all of this? Is it that we should all throw our phones in the river and go live off the grid? No, of course not. The real takeaway is something much more practical, much more balanced.
Because let's be realistic here. A completely phone-free life just isn't practical for most of us. Simple things like trying to navigate to a new place become a huge challenge. There's the very real concern about emergencies. and trying to coordinate with anyone for work or your social life becomes a logistical nightmare. This is not an argument for becoming a Luddite.
And this brings us to the core idea here, what I'm calling digital control. The experiment showed me that the goal isn't to quit our phones, it's to control them. It's about consciously flipping the dynamic so that instead of this tool using us, we are the ones using the tool. Ultimately, that single 24-hour period was like holding up a giant mirror. It showed me in no uncertain terms just how much power my phone had over me. And maybe more importantly, it showed me how passively and easily I had just handed that power over day after day.
And so, that brings us right back to the beginning. After hearing all this, I want you to ask yourself honestly, could you do it? Could you actually go 24 hours without your phone? And what do you think you might discover if you did?